Hello, welcome to our discussion of the Java Enum data type. So here I have a method here called do something, and I have a couple of questions. What is the intent of this code? And have we covered all possible cases? So here's a comment in number 7, integers have a range of -2 billion to +2 billion. So the first question, what is the intent of this code? There's no way you can tell. Now, because there's no code here. So we have nothing here that tells the intent of this code. If this was in an industrial product, you would unlikely to encounter a block of code like this that was essentially a completely unfinished thought. You'd find code in between these switch statements. But then you'd start analyzing. Then your task would be 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. What do they mean? The only way you could figure out what they mean is by figuring out the blocks of code that are underneath it. The second question, have we covered all possible cases? You couldn't tell from just looking at this code. This is a parameter that's coming in, and let's say it's a set. That parameter was based on an object's data property. Where else then is that object's data property used? You may have millions of lines of code to analyze to see all those possible cases before it begins to dawn on you the answer to the second question, have we covered all possible cases? The solution to this type of problem, writing self-documenting code, is found in large part from using enums. So here I have public enum day, and what we've done here is create a new data type called day. And that data type has these possible values, Sunday through Saturday. Also, underneath these possible values are integers. So Sunday starts out as 0, and Saturday ends up as 6. So they have underneath integer values, but those integer values aren't expressed as bare integers. They have self-documenting values. So when you start looking at this code, where I've simply replaced the 1 through 5 in the case statements with the values that are coming from the enum day, this code is very much more self-documenting. This code must have something to do with different handling for the date based on the day of the week. Furthermore, you could also intuit that it has to do with work days because you see the values Monday through Friday. You know that you're not covering all the possible values of the range. And maybe the problem is, if you're doing maintenance work, you didn't consider Sunday and Saturday here. But you know all of a sudden very much more information about this code versus this code. So many properties are state-of-the-object properties. And what I mean by that are, if you consider all the object properties that could exist, let's say in a class that's known as employee, a handful of those things are state-of-the-object properties. That is, something that you're going to write some Boolean logic for, an if statement or a switch statement. If you use integers or strings for these state properties, these types of problems proliferate. That is, what is the intention of this state, given that you've just typed it as an integer or a string? And does the code handle all possible cases because you've left yourself open to so many possibilities? -2 billion to +2 billion in the case of integer, and far more possibilities in the case of a string that's used as a state-of-the-object property. If a property is a state-of-the-object property, that is, it's likely to be used in a switch statement or an if statement, then best practice is to use an enumeration.